Whether the city folk realise it or not, Australia is facing very hard times in the not too distant future. At the moment, we're able to fill up and at a great cost feed the family and our animals. In the country, the poo is already hitting the fan, and unfortunately, city and country alike will face hardship as a result of the stand off in the Strait of Hormuz. And you look at Donald Trump, it might go on for a few years. So many products that rely on petroleum and other essential inputs will be in short supply, delayed, or only available at a much higher cost. For example, pharmaceutical supply chains are at risk, especially for cold chain products like vaccines, cancer therapies and insulin. High volume generics, antibiotics and raw materials derived from petrochemicals, shock horror, are expected to face shortages. Now, while there is a national medicine stockpile, Australia imports about 90% of its medications, leaving the country very vulnerable. Dr. David Richards is an Australian physician, scientist, systems theorist whose career bridges medicines, mathematics, and the study of complex adaptive systems. David is also a co-founder of Australians for Science and Freedom and a general practitioner, and a very good one indeed, let me tell you that, and adjunct professor at an Australian university in the Faculty of Medicine. Dr. David Richards, greetings and salutations, sir.
Thank you, Mike. A wonderful introduction. That's very kind of you.
Well, I had to lie. I mean, I didn't have to dig very deep. I found all these magnificent things about you.
You missed out a drinking buddy. That was the one thing.
No, I would have spent too much time on that. Then I would have been in trouble, you know. But and you are right. Wine. I was saying before that we had a little bet. You did win. Wine is much better for you, but I have trouble drinking that at breakfast. Hey, tell me about now we maintain this. It's called a National Medicine Stockpile, NMS, of essential medicines, vaccines, antidotes and personal protective equipment, PPE, for national health emergencies. But we don't know much about this reserve. Can you tell us about this reserve? And even during COVID, was it necessary?
Well, it's difficult to know. I mean, there's not a lot of data on it. I mean, a lot of this stuff is kept quiet, and government doesn't release information. And during COVID, in particular during COVID, very little information came out. Look, sometimes it's poorly targeted. It's often these things, in my experience, often these things are influenced by drug companies. I think back to one of the flu epidemics we had. I think it was the swine flu epidemic. It was 2012, I think, or 2011. And at that stage, we had this promise of a massive surge in influenza cases, and the government stockpiled Tamiflu, huge amounts of Tamiflu, and in the event, it was almost impossible to get Tamiflu because it was so carefully guarded. To apply to get the release of the Tamiflu, you had to go through a series of bureaucratic steps, so that by the time the Tamiflu was available, the patient had either recovered or died. It was ridiculous. Long and the short of it is that most of that Tamiflu never got used, and so the government had this huge stockpile of Tamiflu that was useless to Australia. And how did they resolve the problem? Well, what they did, they extended the expiry date, and then they resold it back to the pharmaceutical companies, back to the pharmacies, I should say, with the extended life duration of the product, so that it could be reused. And interestingly, the agency, the company that spruiked this massive flu outbreak back in 2012, whenever it was, the CEO of that company was none other than our lovely Donald Rumsfeld. And so these commercial influences, influence in government policies, very much like Stephen Tripp was saying, that these people in power have got very little real inside knowledge. And so what the big problem with these stockpiles is that very often they're poorly targeted, and they come under the influence of commercial pressures from pharmaceutical companies and so forth. And so, but we can't really be sure exactly what government is being held, because it's just not made available.
Which are the basic medicines that are at risk because of the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it's interesting, Mike, because the primary concern will be IV fluids and consumables, so plastics and so forth. And I wonder why, because you would have thought Australia was completely capable of producing its own supply of IV fluids, but apparently not. Apparently, it's reported. So antibiotics, insulin will be diabetics are one group that are going to be a little bit vulnerable if the insulin anti-diabetic products aren't made available. Anesthetic agents and hospital stock generally is going to be particularly put under pressure.
Yeah, it's. I have to say I'm quite disturbed with all this. In another program, we do talk about these sorts of things, but it is quite shocking at the moment to see what's happening, and even the packaging. They're now starting to worry about packaging in certain clothing materials because they also contain petroleum, and without that getting through the strait, with Donald Trump saying could go on for years, we do have some hiccups to face down the track. The people in rural areas, regional, rural, and outback areas, are doing it tough. They're doing it tough because of the current situation in the Middle East, but also with the impending, not doom and gloom, or doom or gloom, but it's going to create some headaches for people down the track. What do you suggest they do when it comes to general health? And I played a clip before, a couple of clips on rural and outback medicine, with the Flying Doctor Service and the government doing something in, I think, New South Wales. How does the community, because doctors are hard to get, and if this continues, it'll even put in jeopardy delivering the medicines to various locales. The Flying Doctor Service, it relies on fuel. What happens to that? So what should besides probably drinking less frothy wine, which is called beer, eating a little better, but you start disrupting, and I'm being stupid here, you start disrupting the day-to-day operations. People get up early, work very hard, enjoy a bit of life, but they work very, very hard. If they get sick, though, they're sort of, they may at the end of the day, because it's tough now, but they may be quite stuffed.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the key is to start preparing now in the rural areas, and start stockpiling products, particularly the IV fluids and so forth. This comes down to supply chains, and recognizing that this is a situation that could well get worse. My own estimation is that there's a 50% chance that this is going to lead to significant disruption over the next 3 to 6 months, and maybe longer. And so, while things are still operational at this point in time, this is when we need to be acting to stockpile these things, to create regional medicine depots, expand the telehealth and rural nursing services, and stockpile consumables in the hospitals, because that's where things are going to be felt most acutely. For the average person, what's really important for them is to maintain their pattern of life. It's very difficult. When you're under stress, your normal routine suffers. You struggle to do the basic stuff because it becomes deflating. You don't have the inclination to do these things, and this is where your regular routines, you walk in, making sure you take care of your meals and get out enjoy sunshine as well. Good weather, good fresh air. All of these, keeping those routines going is really critical for mental health during these downtimes. Having local support networks where you've got communities that support, individuals and communities that support each other. I've gone through some difficult times myself over the last few years, and I found that the support of my local groups, cycle, running, and so forth, that was tremendous for me to help me get through some of the difficult things that I was getting through. So those are the things, embedding these networks locally and being involved. Communication is really important, and keep up your routines. That's really important as well.
Yeah, it is indeed. And try and keep healthy and fit, but at the same time, enjoy life. But I mean, I can see if you're hundreds of Ks from anyone, even 50 Ks from anyone, and something happens, you want to make sure that you're going to be looked after. And it's and again, the bush it feeds Australia, and it certainly gets the bum steer when it comes to modern cons that the rest of the country has in most places. Dr. David Richards, somebody wants to find out more about you. How do they do that?
Well, I'm the chairman of the Australians for Science and Freedom. Our website is asf.org. Look, we're always encouraging new people to be recruited to our organisation. Look us up, and we welcome you with open arms.
And David will shout you a drink. Maybe not. Dr. David Richards, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure.